Hi, this is Russell Stanner from teachertrainingvideos.com. Today we've got a set of videos for you about Edmodo. It's a beginner's guide to the very latest Edmodo which was released in August 2019. Now what I'm going to do is make this a very special set of videos because I'm going to show you it from the student's point of view and the teacher's point of view. So you're going to see both views of how Edmodo works, and that's really going to help you to understand exactly how Edmodo works and what you could use it for with your students. This course is basically for three groups of people. Firstly, anyone that's starting from the beginning that doesn't know anything about Edmodo. Really going to help you. Going to even show you how to log in. It's a great refresher course if you signed up and used Edmodo but then didn't make much use of it, and you really want to learn and get a solid grounding in how Edmodo works, or even if you're a bit familiar with Edmodo but you haven't seen all the latest updates to the 2019, this course is really going to help you. I'm not going to hang around anymore. There will be a more advanced course that I'll link to at the end of the course, and also you'll be able to see that below. If you like the videos, please like them. And more importantly, if you can, share the video with other teachers, that would be great. And finally, if you've got any questions about Edmodo, I do answer the questions. I have been using Edmodo for 10 years, and in the past I even actually made a course about using Edmodo for the Edmodo organization. So I do know the product pretty well. Leave your comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's get started. So search for edmodo.com. It's actually going to bring you up to newedmodo.com, and then what you want to do is click on sign up. I'm a teacher, and that's going to bring you to this page. My advice to you is when you sign up, just to simply use your email address and give yourself a password. Don't forget your password, of course, and then click on create account, and you'll come through to the next page, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So when you come through to this next page, put your first name and your last name and then click on next. Now in your case, what you're going to want to do is set up a class, because obviously the idea is that you're going to create an Edmodo site, you're going to create your first class, and your students will be able to log into that class. Every class you create, and you can create as many classes as you like, will have a code. You give that code to the students, they log in, and then they are connected with you in that class. A really good system to use, and you'll see why later as I show you some of the levels of security. So the choice you want to make is set up a class. We click on that button here and just think of a name of your first class. So I've made my choices. I'm calling my class Teacher Training Videos Class 1. Computer Technology is the subject. The subcategory is also Computer Technology, Adult Education. Click on the next button. Now I'm going to choose a color for my class. It doesn't matter what color I choose. Off we go. And hopefully now my first class is created. We are there. We've got our first class. Now all we need to do is to get our students to log in. And actually I'm going to show you that. So just click on your class. It will be here on the right hand side. Click on it and it will actually open it up. And it's going to say to you, do you want to add some students? Now I'm going to show you a couple of ways of doing that. I'm going to show you the way that I do it first. And the way I do it would be to actually close that down. And simply, when you create a class, and obviously our class is called Teacher Training Videos Class 1, you'll notice that there is a code here. And that code, I simply give it to the students, and then the students can log into my class. So I thought it'd be interesting to quickly diverge and show you then what the student would need to do. So they would come onto Edmodo. If they haven't got an account already, if they've got an account already, all they need to do is go onto their account, click on the left hand side, click on join a class and put the code in, and they will join that class. A student can join as many classes as they want. They simply need the code from the teacher. But if a student has never created an account, all they need to do is click on sign up. I'm a student, and it's slightly different for the student. They can put their first name, last name, and they need to put the class code. If they add the class code in here, and they need to put a username, that's a name that Edmodo is going to refer to them. Of course it can be the same as their first name. Tell them not to put an email address, and of course they also need to have a password so that they can log into Edmodo. Now what's going to happen is, with that information filled in by the student, when they click on sign up for free, they will come straight into your class. So I'm going to show you that. So I've added in here a name of a student. I've put in the code for the class that I've just created. Obviously your code is going to be different. Every class has a different code. put in a username, which I've just simply used my same name here, but together. Don't need to put an email address, and I click on sign up for free. I will come straight into the class that's been created. Remember, the name of that class was teacher training. Now, you don't need to do this, okay? Enter your parents' mobile number, or you don't need to do that. You can skip this completely, and you will then jump into the class, and I'm now in the teacher training class that I created, but in this case I'm now logged in as a student. Now occasionally we're going to jump back to this account so you can see what it's like for the teacher and for the student, and you'll see how it's different. But let's go back now to the teacher's view of this class that we've created. So Edmodo works very similar to Facebook. So you've got a basic wall here, and you can click here and basically write anything and share anything, and anyone in your class will receive that information, whether it's a question, whether it's a video, whether it's a document, whether you're sharing a PowerPoint presentation, whether you are writing them a question to answer, and lots of other things as well. How do you know who's going to receive your anything you share? Well, of course, you've got your members here, and in this case we know that one member has joined, and that is Jean Stannard. So you would simply give that code, which you can always see on the opening page here, and obviously your code will be different because you would have created a class. Give that code to your students, and immediately they would all be able to log in, and you might have 15, 20, 30 students all logging in to that class. But the great thing is, from that moment on, anything that you share or do will go immediately to your class. So let's do our first post. So we're going to click here, okay, and we're going to write a post, and what we're going to do is going to introduce ourselves and say, hi, I am Russell Stannard, I am your teacher, and I'm going to say to the students, can you tell me something about you? Okay, so I'm just simply leave the question at the top of what's going to be the first post on the screen. And sometimes what I'll do is share a picture of myself along with a quick introduction. I'll probably write a little bit more, and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually attach something, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a file. So I'm going to click on files. It's going to open up my computer. I'm going to quickly jump to my pictures, come down to a quick photo I've got of myself, and just share that on the screen. It's always nice at the beginning when you're doing a course to kind of put up a picture, so I just put that one up really quickly, and you'll see in a minute when I post it that that picture will come up onto the screen, and there it is. Okay, now that has been posted onto the screen, and the student, what would the student see? So if we come back here and just refresh the page, because Edmodo is not a synchronous tool, it doesn't immediately appear on someone else's screen. You just have to refresh the browser, and that student is now going to see that a post has been added onto the screen, and they can reply. So they remember they were asked to tell something about themselves, so they could be the student here. Hi, my name's is Jean, blah blah blah, and they simply click on comment, and then immediately students can reply. So a great way of immediately being able to interact with your students. By the way, I'm not Peter Stannard, I'm Russell Stannard, but I use the word Peter Stannard simply because I was creating a different account so that I could demonstrate to you how you create an account, and I will show you one of my accounts later. I literally have hundreds of Edmodo classes. If we just carry on now, we can also share, of course, video. We're not limited just to pictures. If I click here, let's imagine, for example, say I want the students to watch this video and write about 5 mistakes the presenter makes. Okay, and then I could add a video. So all I would need is to get the link to the video. So I'm going to quickly jump to I'm going to use this video here, so I'm just going to simply go to the share button on this video, copy that button, so just click on that button there, come back to Edmodo, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that. So I'm just going to go down a couple of lines, click on the paste button, I'm going to wait for the picture to load into the screen, and then again I'm going to click on post. Remember, when I post something, every single student who is a member of that group will receive the video. So again, if we jump to the student view and to see what the student sees, I'm going to click on here. Now again, we'd have to do exactly the same thing that we did before, and that's refresh the page. There should be a new post now that's been added to the screen. And in this post, what we can see is that we've got a video to watch, and then we got to write 5 mistakes that we see in the video. So immediately we've got some kind of activity set up. Of course, it could be done in the class, or what I tend to do a lot with Edmodo is use it for the flipped classroom. So students watch a video at home and then do an activity. Again, you can see the power of Edmodo, that immediately we've got this way of interacting with our students and sharing content with them. Now, a nice little feature in Edmodo is that we can pin a post to the top. So if you want a particular post to appear at the top of the screen when the student comes on, they will always see that post. Say, for example, we want to have this introductory post right at the top of the screen. We can click here and just click on pin post. Now, immediately we do that, that means that that post will always be at the top until we unpin it. And then we can always pin another post. And that can be really powerful because it means that whenever the student opens up the class in Edmodo, they will see that post first. So if you've got a particular post that you want your students to see, then pin post is really important. And the great thing about pin post is you can always unpin a post by just clicking here and clicking on unpin, and then that post unpins. Now when the post is unpinned, if you add a new post, then that will appear above it. But the pin post is very similar. I think you've got the same thing in Facebook, and it can be really useful. If ever you've uploaded something and then you realise you've made a mistake, you can also come over here to the right hand side, click, and you can delete your post. Okay. One last thing about kind of working on this timeline. I'm not going to obviously be able to do everything, but just to give you a good idea, you can then experiment with it a little bit. If I just write something here, so I'm just going to do something really quickly, and let's imagine I want to share some files. I've already showed you how to do this, but I want to make this point that you're not limited to just one file. If I clicked here and said, right, I want to add that picture, and I'm holding down my control key now, that picture, and that picture, and clicked on open, I can actually upload multiple files at the same time. It could be multiple Word files or PowerPoint slides, pictures and video. You can upload video as well. So you've got lots of options in terms of the way you share content. Now, another little tool I use, especially at the beginning of a course, is to create little polls. They're not that interesting. You can't do a lot with them, but they can be a nice way of kind of starting a course. So I often get the students to introduce themselves on Edmodo, but the other thing is I often create a couple of polls. And just to make a really quick example, I click here and then I click on create poll. So I'm simply posting something on the timeline, but it's a special type of post. I'm going to just add a question in here, and the question that I'm going to write is, what do you have for breakfast? And then I can choose my answers. Okay, and I'll quickly show you afterwards what this looks like for the student. So I'm just going to put in some answers. So to put my answers in, I just click on here. I'm going to put tea, and on this one I'm going to write coffee, and on this one I'm going to put water. Now I could add more options if I want to, but I'm just going to keep it simple like that. I'm going to click on post. So I simply post a poll onto the screen. Now what I can do with that poll as well, if I wanted to, is I could pin that to the top. Is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pin that to the top. Let's go into the student view and have a quick look at what the student sees. And there we are. We can see the post. The student can vote. So I'm going to choose T and then click on vote. And it quickly updates. And if we jump back to the teacher's view, straight away, if we come up to the top, remember we pin this post and refresh the page, you'll see that the information is immediately updated onto the screen, and there's the information. One of the most useful features in Edmodo, and I've actually jumped into one of my classes so that you can see this here, is that you can have folders. So this course that I was running, you can see that I've got a folder for every day of the course. It was a 10-day teacher training course, and the students have got access to this whenever they want. Remember, they've already got the code, they're logged into the class, so they can come into the class at any time, even after the course is finished. There's all the content, and they can click on any of the days and they can access that content. Now, just want to remind you of one thing that's really important. When you're using Edmodo, it's not what we call a synchronous tool. That is, when you add something up onto Edmodo, your students don't immediately see it. They do need to refresh their browser. If they sit and wait, the information will appear on their screen because you're your browser does automatically refresh every so often. But actually this is what we call an asynchronous tool. So it's always important, if you're using it in class, to get your students to refresh their browser. If you ever upload something and you want to have a discussion or do something in the class, the students will need to refresh their browser. And the same goes for if you then get them to, if you create some folders. If you want the students to see those folders, they'll need to refresh their browser and they will see them immediately. Obviously, if they go home in the evening and open up Edmodo, well, everything will appear and be there. It's just that it does take a while before the information is downloaded once you've uploaded it onto Edmodo. The fastest way to get around that is to just refresh your browser. So I'm going to show you how to create folders. Let's have a look. So if you look on the left hand side here, we're in posts, okay? And if we click here, we come into folders. Now, one little thing, if you're on the home page, you're not actually in any of the classes. Make sure that when you're working with a particular class that you click on the class that you want to work with, you come into that class, and then from there you would come to folders. And to create a folder, it's really easy. Just click on manage folders and you click on add folder, and then you just give that folder a name. So I'm going to call this TTV, teachertrainingvideos.com day one. Let's imagine it's a course that you're doing with me, and we're going to call this adult education, and we're going to call the area is going to be world languages. Click on create. So you create the folder first. Now you need to add the content into the folder. So all you need to do is click here and come inside the folder and then click on new. Let's do a really quick example. We're going to just add a link. So I'm going to add a link through to my web. So I'm just jumping to my website, teachertrainingvideos.com. I'm going to click and copy that link. I'm going to come back and I'm going to paste that link in. Now, one really important tip here, always click and wait for the title to appear. And if a title doesn't come up, then just write one in. And there's a reason for that. And that is because everything that you share in Edmodo, it will be saved, and that means if you want to reuse it, it's much easier simply to find what you've already shared on Edmodo and use it again rather than keep creating stuff. And I'm going to point that out in a minute. So if I click on add link, I've now added that link. Let's do another quick example. So I'm going to click again on new. So I'm going to add some more content. We're going to click on upload file. We'll choose file. Probably getting fed up with pictures of me now, but just to keep this really quick, I've uploaded a picture. Click on that. So we've now added a image and we've added a link to a video. Of course I could add a Word file or a PowerPoint slide or whatever I wanted. When I want to get back, click here and just click on folders, and you come back to the kind of opening screen. If I wanted to create another folder, I could just click on manage folders and click on add folder and create another folder. Another thing that you can do with a folder that can be really useful, click inside it, you can actually nest one folder inside another, and that's something I kind of use more and more. So you click on new and click on new folder, and you might give this one, let's call this one video for example, and I'm going to click on add folder. I'm not going to bother to put any information there, and I can do that. Okay, so now I've got a folder inside a folder. So when I click here and come to the outside, I've got one folder, but if I click on it inside, I've got a couple of things, and I've also got another folder. Now let's have a quick look what the student would see. Remember, we're going to have to refresh the page, so we're just coming back to the student view, and of course the student's going to want to refresh the page, and in this case we're not looking at posts, we want to come down and look at folders. So we click here, and there is that lovely folder that we've created, and if we click inside it, there it is. We can see all the content. Make that window just a little bit smaller. There's all the content, you can see it. So that's folders. They're really useful. I tend to use them a lot. I don't want to put everything on the timeline. If I want students to read stuff or watch videos or access content at home, particularly in the flipped classroom, I would tend to put that content on or in a folder. So obviously when you created your account, you created your first class. I created my class, I called it Teacher Training Videos Class. Let's say I went into another lesson and I wanted to create another class. What would I do? Well, on the left hand side from the home page, remember when you're on the home page, you're not in your classes. You're in the school, but you're not in a class. If you want to create another class for another group of students, all you would need to do is come down to here. And if you're working with students, we normally call them classes. If you're doing teacher training, we normally call them groups. I'm guessing most of you are going to be teaching classes. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to create another class, and I'm going to call this one Teacher Training Videos group 2. Let's imagine I'm creating another class for another group of students, and I'm just going to put TTV group 2 as my description. Select a grade. I'm going to call it adult education. Subject area is going to be computer technology. The subdomain is going to be, or sub-subject is going to be computer technology. I click on create. I've now created a new group. Of course, that new group, I don't bother with this. I close this down because what I'm going to do with this new group would be exactly the same as I would do with the old group. So I'm imagining now I'm in another class, and obviously I've got a different code that I would share with the students. So it's that simple. Just one last thing. If a student's already got an account, they obviously don't need to create an account, and they want to join your class. So they come into your lesson and they say, yeah, I've already got an account. All they need to do is to come down to my classes, click here and click on join a class, and they would just add that code in, and that would be it. Okay, that's the beginner's guide to Edmodo. That will get you going. That will be able to get you sharing stuff on the line, sharing videos, sharing pictures, sharing text, writing questions for your students to interact with. You know now how to add folders up. You also know how to create polls. You also know how to create another class if you want to create other classes. And you've also seen what the student sees as well. There's going to be a continuation of this course, which you will see a link to, and also a link above for you to click and carry on if you want to learn more about Edmodo. I really hope that's been useful to you. If it has, please like it, please share it with other teachers. That's the whole idea. And please, if you've got any questions about Edmodo, I've been using it for about 10 years, then put the questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. And thank you very much. If you're looking for more videos, please come to teachertrainingvideos.com. Lots of videos on the website, including any of these technologies here at the top of the screen. If you click on the home page, you'll see all sorts of recent videos that I've uploaded, and you just click on them and the video is ready to play. If you'd like to follow my work, the main thing I can suggest you do is sign up to the newsletter. If you sign up to the newsletter, you'll be updated on all the new videos I produce. You'll also be updated on the blog posts that I write for various organizations and the webinars that I'm working on or giving, any short courses that I'm running. I also try to inform you when I'm doing training in different countries around the world, so just in case you're from that country and want to come along and listen to me. The other thing you can do is to sign up to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure you click on the bell. That way you'll be updated as the new videos are added onto the channel. That's growing now. I think it's up to nearly 10,000 followers. Finally, I do presentations around the world, presentations, workshops, Camtasia, Edmodo, Quizlet, Kahoot, all sorts of different technologies, talking about technology, particularly in language training, language teaching. And I also do one-to-one. I have a webinar system for doing one-to-one training. That's really, really effective. So if you're looking for very specialized training, perhaps in Camtasia or Moodle, then please contact me, and you can contact me from the website. And thank you very much.